Welcome to another edition of Question and Answer with a Criminal Defense Attorney. My name is Mark Solomon, a defense attorney in Denver, Colorado, and today's question is about ignition interlock. But before we get to that, don't forget to click like on this video if you're enjoying it and subscribe with a little bell next to it to be notified of any future videos that I'm going to upload. So let's get to the question. Interlock, ignition interlock devices. First off, what is it? An ignition interlock device is a device that they install into your car and you rent it. You don't buy it, you rent it. It's a monthly fee, somewhere between $60 to $90 a month for the downloads that have to be done to get the information back to the Department of Revenue in Colorado. And what it is a device that you blow into. It takes your picture to make sure it can document who is blowing into the machine. And it requires you to blow an alcohol-free sample before the engine starts. And often, or at least periodically, it'll ask you to blow into the machine when you are driving to make sure that, again, you haven't had anything to drink while driving since the car was started. So an interlock is granted to people after a period of no driving for a DUI or express consent. Same basic thing, minor differences. But if your license has been taken away for drinking and driving or drugs, you're going to end up having to have an interlock in your car. So let's look at the time periods that it is going to be in your car for. The statute is a phenomenal place to start with that. So in other words, this talks about the people who have to have an interlock restricted license. And the three main sections here are people whose license have been revoked for express BAC, or if your BAC was a .15 or higher, even on a first offense. If your license has been taken away for habitual offender for the purposes of an alcohol driving conviction, you can reinstate your license with an interlock, which is nice because a habitual traffic offender is a 5-year license suspension. So if the last event that suspended it is for DUI, then you still can drive after a short period of no driving. Or if your license has been taken away for circumventing the interlock that already should have been in your license, you're going to end up having a longer period of interlock. The question as to how long is it going to be in, so persistent drunk drivers, this is an important thing. Anybody on a second offense is going to be classified as a persistent drunk driver and incur a 2-year interlock. But also a first offense DUI is going to be a persistent drunk driver if the BAC was a .15 or more, or it was a refusal to take the chemical test, the blood or breath test. So how long is it going to be in? All the other first-time eligibility, second-time early reinstatement, I am not going to go over that because everybody's situation is different, especially if you do not have a Colorado driver's license. It's going to be very different. When it comes to the evading an interlock, this is important as far as the length. This is the most complicated part I'm going to get into here today, which is that the department shall not reinstate the interlock restricted license for a period of 1 year or the remaining period of the license restraint imposed prior to the issuance of the interlock restricted license, or whichever is longer. So in other words, if you had 1.5 years left to go, you're not going to be able to reinstate for 1.5 years. If you had less than 1 year to go, you're going to have to wait 1 year to get your interlock restricted license. So let me take you to some slides that I prepared, which make this a little bit easier to understand. So a first offense DUI, when your BAC is under a .15, you've got two choices. You can either just not drive for the 9-month license revocation period, or you can have a period of 30 days of no driving and then early reinstate for 8 months of interlock. One of the two choices. And interestingly enough is if you have the early reinstatement of the interlock for the 8 months, you can actually get it early terminated after 4 months with the Department of Revenue. So it's not a bad deal there. Okay. The second slide talks about if your BAC was a .15 or higher, or if it was a refusal, right? No, I take that back. If it was a first offense DUI and a 1.5 or higher, then it is a 9-month revocation for the DUI. But because of that persistent drunk driver tag, you're going to end up having 2 years of interlock regardless of when you reinstate. So those two options that I was talking about in the first slide don't apply here. If you don't drive for 5 years and then try to reinstate, assuming the law has stayed the same, you will still need to have 2 years of interlock. So consider a 0.15 or higher. You're going to want to reinstate as fast as possible after 31 days so that you can get that 2 years out of the way and get a regular license as fast as possible. The third slide is if it's a refusal, even on a first offense. It's going to be 60 days of no driving and then 2 years of interlock, just like before. With the high BAC, refusals require the 2 years of interlock, even on a first offense. A couple other things I just wanted to also point out is that if you're driving a car when you shouldn't be, like a DUR, and I've got another video on that, if you have a DUR for an alcohol-related driving suspension, like driving a vehicle without an interlock when you have an interlock-restricted license, it will add the time to your interlock-restricted license, as I said earlier. That's important. Plus, evading interlock will also, it's a traffic misdemeanor and will increase the amount of no driving by 12 months. So that is the question and answer for today. If you would like your own question answered in a future video, you can always put it in the comments below, email me, or put it on, tag me on Twitter. And as always, you have a right to remain silent. If a police officer asks you questions about where you've been, what you have, what you know, or anything, you have a right to say, I don't want to talk to you. And if they persist, I want a lawyer.